Hey everybody, we're gonna do a quick sound check. Let me know if you can hear me in the comments. Welcome. I'm so excited you could join me live. I hope you are excited to be here for my little extra bonus surprise. I've never done a live workshop in these events in the middle of the week. Typically everything is pre-recorded to avoid tech issues and a lot of other extraneous details. We're good on sound? Okay, great. So this is just something I wanted to throw in as an extra fun thing for my community. So we're going to go over templates and where you can get them in just a minute. And we're going to be making our white paper gardenia flowers today. Here, the light is a little bright, so it's kind of reflective. You can see it there. So I want to say one thing before I continue. We are in Florida, and we are getting hit with a hurricane tomorrow. So we have some rain and wind right now. Now we're in Central Florida, so thankfully we're not getting direct hit. And I'm an old-time Floridian. I literally lived here for 30 years. So this is just like routine for me. But if by some far stretch we were to go dark in the middle of this, it's because we somehow lost power. Okay, so it's not I'm cutting out on you or anything like that. That would be the only reason. So I wanted to say that just in case. It's not too bad. So I don't think that's going to happen. All right. So welcome everybody. Ooh, from the Netherlands. Yep. There's some other Floridians here, people who have family in Florida. Yep. Be safe, everybody. All right. So let's talk about first the templates. If you got my email this morning and you're on my email list, you kind of already got clarity around that. But I want you to look in the YouTube video description. Okay. If you're on desktop, literally scroll down beneath this video that's playing. You're going to see like the title of my channel, and beneath that, there's going to be a video description. You're going to see links in there. There is a Google Drive link. And there is also a link to my craft vault. It does not matter which one you click on. If you prefer to download from Drive, if you prefer to go and log into your free account in my craft vault and download them, does not matter. You get the same information, okay? So I just provided two different options for you. So you'll be able to download those. You will get access to these for the next 24 hours. Once this live ends, there'll be a 24-hour replay for all of our free ticket holders. The templates will be in the video description for that 24 hours as well. And for all of our VIP pass holders, you will get this replay and the templates added for forever access into your account later on today or first thing tomorrow. So don't worry about that. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a minute. Do we have any questions? Hey, you guys are so energetic today. Yay, I'm so glad you're here. Okay, all right, so I'm going to share my screen with you for a few minutes and just show you again, where to download, upload to Design Space, and then we're going to make the gardenias together. It's going to be so much fun. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And shout out to my hubby who is moderating over here. So if you have questions, type them in, and I will pause and try to make sure I don't miss anybody's questions. Okay? So let's present and share screen. All right. Okay, so like I said, we're making the paper gardenias. I'm working in Design Space, guys, but if you're working with a different cutting machine, go for it. There's SVG cut files included. So, any machine that takes SVG cut files will be fine. I also include printable PDFs. So if you're someone who's happens across this and you don't have a cutting machine, then you can still enjoy this. Or what I like to do with my kids is, this is a very simple petal shape to cut. So if you want to set them down for a rainy afternoon or something like that and have them cut out the templates and make their own flowers, that's a great way to do that too if you don't want to involve a machine for that process. All right, so I'm going to come over here for just a minute. Right now, and scroll beneath it, you're going to see find the templates and workshop worksheets here. You might need to click on more to reveal the rest of the description, but this is where your downloads are going to be. Again, they're in two locations. Pick whichever one makes you happy, okay? So I'm just going to feature Google Drive because it's the easiest option, and I'll show you how you download in case you're unfamiliar with downloading from Google Drive. So here we are, the link with the templates. You can see we have PDFs, and then we have SVG files. You'll know what is what because if you filter by type up here, and if you filter by PDFs only, it'll filter out the PDFs. If you want to filter by, I think it's photos and images. Yeah, photos and images filter option provides just the SVG files to be filtered out. But either way, all your information is in there. We have the worksheet as well and the supply list, which looks like I actually put in there twice. That's okay. So to download from Drive, there are 2 ways to do this. If you want to download everything you're seeing here in one shot, you can come up to this heading here. Now I am logged into my account, so you won't be seeing like this extra stuff over here. You'll just see like a title up here at the top. In fact, here, let me make this super, super easy. I'm going to open this in an incognito window. This is what you probably will see, okay? Incognito window, so that's probably what you'll see. So you can actually come up here to the name of the folder. If you do it, kind of illuminate. If you right click, oh, it's not going to let me. Okay, let me back up. Let's come over here instead. See these 3 little dots? Oh, incognito is different. Okay. I'm used to being in my account, guys, so I've done this a million times, but it decided to look different to me. So this download all button, if you want to download as a zip, that's what you're going to do. Sometimes when you're logged in, you can actually click on like these 3 dots to reveal sub options, but in this, it decided to rearrange itself. So if you want to download everything in one shot, click this download all button. It's going to download as a zip file. If you're like, I'm on a mobile device, I don't like zips, I have no idea what a zip is, don't stress. So if you want to avoid the zip file route, just click on any one of these. You'll see if you hover, there's a little arrow to download. You can actually click on the file itself as well, and it will give you this preview, which might look a little grainy, and then download arrow. Okay, so if I click on that, then it's going to take its time, and it's going to download to my computer. So mine's going to my downloads folder, which is usually pretty common. Or a different location on your computer. Save. Okay, so you'll click save, and then you would come over to that place where you downloaded, and there is my file. So that's how you download, okay, from Drive. It's that easy. So I'm going to take a quick pause here and go back over to Design Space, see what questions do we have. What questions do we have? Not too many, taking care of it.
A lot of people saying hi.
Hi.
Someone said your sound is falling away sometimes.
My sound is falling away.
I haven't had.
All right, we haven't experienced that on our end with our sound check, but just keep me posted if that becomes a consistent issue. We had the mic turned all the way up, so I don't know if it's, well, the AC's not on, so we should be fine. All right, so we're gonna continue on here. I'm in Cricut Design Space, and these are obviously the files we are uploading. So I'm just gonna actually click and drag over this and group them and hide them so I can show you from the start. You're gonna locate the upload button in the design panel to your left-hand side. You click on upload image, then you can drag and drop your file here. There we go, that's where I want it to be. So if you're in your file finder, you want to drag and drop. Now, if you see a Chrome internet browser icon, a Firefox icon, and a Edge icon, those are probably your SVGs, okay? I have Inkscape on my computer, so that means I get the preview, okay? It doesn't look like this. You still have the SVGs. They're just going to be represented by an internet browser icon. It might even say HTML if you hover over it, okay? Are we still having sound issues? No? Okay. All right, so I'm going to keep going here. If we want to drag and drop this over, I'm just going to, just like that. You sure?
Yes, so there's people, there's a few people that are saying the sound is learning choppy, but I'm not.
Let me do this and I'll see if there's something there, but I don't think. All right, if it's not more than just a couple people, then let me know. Like, I'm right by my mic, so I'm not really sure what would be causing that. But make sure you have like an internet connection too. I know like if things go in and out, if it gets spotty or refresh your screen, that can help too. I'm just going to get going for a minute and then we'll keep an eye on that. So I'm going to click continue at the bottom and we'll click upload. And there we go. We dropped our file in there. You would just repeat this for the other items as well. So there's the second file as well. And then there's the leaves as well. Okay. So I'll drag and drop that over there. We'll hit continue and upload just as before. And there we go. Make sure you save your project. So if you hit save at the top, you can click save as, and then give, or if you've already created a project name, just update save by clicking save.
No, there's still a bunch of people saying the sound is rough.
All right. Let me see if I can do something about that real quick. Guys, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and see if I can fix it. I'm not sure what would be causing that, but I'm going to do my best. This is why we don't do our workshops live. This is why. Okay, give me a second. StreamYard. Bear with me. Yeah, it seems to be a little lower. Well, how is it now? Is it any better now? Bear with me, guys.
One more time.
Well, you're gonna get a back feed now.
Yeah, but it still sounds. I think we're good.
It sounds better.
Yeah, everyone's saying it's better.
Sounds better. Okay. I had my cord wrapped a minute ago, so I can't imagine why a cord being slightly wrapped would make that big of a difference, but hey, maybe it does. So hopefully that we're good now. I hope that means we're okay and it's better now. Okay. This is the loveliness of lives. It's lovely. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again and keep going. We're doing a little better now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for bearing with me here. Let me turn this because I didn't realize I was so off camera. Hi. I have to look at my screen though. Okay, so let me reshare my screen. Thank you for your patience. And we'll go back over to space. All right. So these templates are pretty much plug and play. So you don't really need to do any resizing unless you wish to play around with it. All right. I want to stress here that when you see the way I formatted these, feel free to duplicate them. Feel free to maximize your surface area if you're using like a 12 by 12 sheet. I've set these up for 8x11 letter size cardstock. So that's why you could probably see 4 in there, but that's why the files are kind of like that. Okay. Now, I will go over the count in just a minute. But what you cut out, the purpose of cutting out as many as you can at a time is to maximize your cutting process and your material. So just because you cut out this many doesn't mean we use that to build one file. Okay, I just like to clarify that because I know some people might get confused by that point. So there's nothing you really need to do here, except if you wish to use your attach tool so that the positioning of these does not change, then you may want to do that. Because if I go to click on the Make It button and I go to my cut screen, Design Space is going to do something like this, and this, and this. And to me, that's not as efficient as having these all together like they kind of are right now. So to do that, click on any one of these groups that we brought in. These are currently grouped files. You can ungroup them if you wish by right-clicking ungroup. But currently, I'm going to leave it as a group. Grouping doesn't mean it's going to stay like that on the screen, though. You have to use the Attach tool to hold the placement. So I would click Attach at the bottom of the Layers panel here for each one of these. Okay, and then I would update my save. And now when we go to the cut screen, cutting on a mat, you can see the positioning is the same as it was on the canvas a moment ago, which is very nice in my opinion. So that's how I set my files up. Okay, and then I'm just going to be cutting out on a 65-pound cardstock. I'm going to cover all my supplies down here in just a second, but that's the setting I'll be using is a medium weight cardstock setting. Unless you are using something wildly different for some reason, then I recommend using medium weight. Are we still good? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just making sure. When you put your headphones in, I'm assuming that there's a problem. So I want to make sure I'm not chattering on and there's not a problem. We good? I'm hearing the back feed. You have to turn
Why I did that.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. Well, it connected to my computer. Your AirPods connected to my computer.
Oh.
Yeah, so I would just stay off the AirPods for now.
Okay.
Okay? Seriously, you gotta stop doing that. Okay, he's trying to make sure the audio is good, but it's giving like back feed. You gotta mute it, babe. Thank you. All right, we're gonna continue on. Welcome to our circus. Okay, so I'm gonna click continue. and we're connecting to our machine. I'm connected via Bluetooth. If you want to plug in USB cable, that's fine as well. I'll be using a Maker 3, but this is just a simple cardstock project. So any of the Cricut machines are gonna get the job done. Okay, and giving that a second to connect. My machine is right back here. Okay, and we'll be loading that up in just a minute when I go over materials. So I'm selecting the medium cardstock setting. You can find that under Browse All Materials. I have mine bookmarked right here. So we'll just leave it at the default pressure, medium cardstock, okay? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now and I'm gonna show you the supplies we're gonna be using. Okie dokie, let's go down and check out supplies. Any questions?
Not right now.
Okay, we doing okay on audio? From what you can tell?
Sounds like it's better.
Okay, hopefully that means it is. All right, so I'm bringing you guys down here. We'll talk about supplies that I am using. So we are using 65-pound medium weight cardstock. I'll be using white, and then you can just pick one shade of green. So whatever makes you happiest. There's two examples, a darker grass green and a more like sagey green, or however you want to look at that, moss green maybe. And so that's what I'm using, but you only need one green. I'm just showing you a couple choice examples there, but you'll just need 2 sheets. If you're making like at least one flower, you want to do at least one flower, grab 2 sheets of white cardstock, okay? I'm going to be using a cutting mat. The light grip mat works. This is the standard grip mat that also works. So whatever you have on hand is fine. I'll be using a brayer tool to push my cardstock material to the mat. And I will also be using some Distress Oxide. You could also use Distress inks. So this is the antique linen one. Let me put that around for you guys there. You can see that. And then this is an ink blending brush. Oh, okay. That was a good suggestion. Thank you, Roxanne, for your suggestion on the audio. I appreciate that. And then we also have 18 gauge floral wire if you want to stem, okay? And then using needle nose pliers to shape it, and you may want some wire cutters to trim down. I'll be using a hot glue gun for my adhesive, so you'll also want some hot glue sticks. And then to curl my petals, I'm just using a thin wood dowel. So this is a 1/4 inch wood dowel. You can use a 1/2 inch wood dowel. You can use a pencil or a pen. All that's gonna work and get the job done. So don't overcomplicate it. Something of that size will work. And you'll also wanna have a pair of detail scissors on hand for our stemming process. And I think that's it. And then if you're gonna do the cone, if you decide you wanna do something really simple like this with like some wrapping paper or some butcher paper, then you'll want that as well. And I ran out of this and I didn't check before I started. So I'm gonna be using some gift wrapping instead because I ran out of this brown paper, but I'll still show you the concept if you wanna, follow me along and create something like this, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get this cut out. Just one sheet as an example, because I already have my templates prepped here, but I always like to show the cutting process a little bit on like, putting materials on the mats and all that stuff. Let me see, are we doing okay over there? Any questions?
It seems like when you go to switch your screen, the sound is where the issues is.
When I was sharing the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're done with the screen sharing part, so hopefully that means things will be more smooth sailing from now. I'm not sure why that was happening. I've never had that happen before. We did 2 lives this last week and we were good to go, but it's just one of those days sometimes where the software you use is just having a moment and there's almost nothing you can do about it except sort of just go with it. All right, so I put my medium cardstock on here. I'm gonna use my brayer tool to just smooth and press the material to the mat. My mat is pretty well worn, as I'm sure you guys can relate to. So this really helps make sure it's sticking well and that minimizes rips and tearing, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and load this into my machine. I'll bring you guys back up here for just a second. Hello. So my machine is back here. Okay, so I've already selected 65-pound cardstock in Design Space. There is a double arrow flashing button flashing on the top of my machine right now because that is Cricut telling me it's time to put your mat in. So press it against the rollers underneath those little white guides and press that double arrow flashing button and load it. I'm using the fine point blade, so that's the default blade that comes with this, okay? And I'm just gonna let that sheet cut out. It's gonna align the mat first And then once it aligns the mat, it's going to flash the Cricut C or the Cricut Play icon to proceed with the cut. You're going to push that to proceed with the cut, okay? So press that button, and that is like your go button. It initiates the cut, and it'll start cutting that out. Okay, we're going to go over petal count while that one's cutting out, okay? Any questions before I go over petal count? We're doing okay?
Everything's good.
All right. So if I'm not answering your question here and you did have a question, my husband is trying to like also answer questions in the chat so I can sort of keep a flow to this as well. So, all right, let's go over our petal count. And I'll bring you guys back down here to show you that as well. All right, coming down. Okay. So, see, here's my little mic right here. It is present. All right, so here are my gardenia petals. In the templates, you're going to notice 2 styles, and then there'll be some different size variations. So this is your 3-point petal, okay? 3-point petal. You're going to want 2 of them, 2 3-point petals, okay? And then we have a 5-point petal. You're going to need up to 2 of each size of the 5-point petals. There is one that is slightly larger, and there is one that is slightly smaller. It is very subtle, okay? So unless you're like holding them next to each other, it's sometimes hard to tell that this one's smaller than this one, but there is a slight difference, okay? So 2, 2, and 2. I will go over some variations you can create with that as we go. It's not an exact science. I have made these with less, and I've made them with more petals. So if your flower's coming together in a way where it's like, I have too much extra space in the center, just go ahead and add another small petal to the center, okay? It's not an exact science. It's perfectly okay to experiment and play around with it. For your leaves, that is completely your preference. If you want to add some leaves to the stem, by all means, go ahead and just cut a few random ones. There's a bunch in different sizes here. There's slightly bigger ones, slightly smaller ones. Leaves are never exact on any stem flower. There's random amounts and random sizes. So being random with this makes it look authentic. And then this here is if you wish to stem or just add a finishing touch to the bottom of your gardenia, then we'll be using this for the stemming or the finishing touch at the bottom of the flower. I'll just show you what that looks like in advance. So here is our flower, and then that's how that's going to play out there in the end, okay? So let me take a breath and see what questions we have. Any questions you're seeing, honey?
There were people saying they're having trouble with finding the right white paper. I told them 12 by 12 cardstock.
Oh yeah, 12 by 12 cardstock shop is great. Okay, 12 by 12 is my favorite. Lots of different shades of white. There's always like a warm white. It's like a more yellow hued warm white. And then there's like a blue white. So it's like a cool white. If I'm making my personal recommendation and preference, try to go towards the more warm color. It's just a little more natural. But 12 by 12 cardstock shop is great. And I also I don't use a ton of like craft store cardstock packs because sometimes unless they're on sale, they're expensive or they're just not as good quality as like 12 by 12 cardstock shop. But they do have like some Recollections brand at Michael's. That's just a big pack of white medium weight cardstock. And that's actually what I'm using here today. The greens are from 12 by 12. But I had extra of this on hand, so I'm using this. So Michael's Craft Store, if you're wanting to like grab this exact set, but yeah, try to go on a warm white if you can sort of pick up on that. It's hard to pick up on unless you're comparing them side by side. It's like not something your eye's going to see very naturally. So just go with it and have fun with it and take note as you go of what papers you like and don't like and what brand they are and where you got them. That way you know for future reference. All right, so our cut is done back here. The double arrow flashing button, or the double arrow button is flashing. So I'm going to press that to unload the mat, okay? Any questions? I'm going to bring you guys back down. Coming back down. It's like a ride. All right, so here is my cut. I am going to flip my mat over face down, and I'm going to gently curl the mat back to get off the excess first. Okay. And then I'll sort of just gently lift these off as the mat is sort of rolling away from me. And that really helps minimize curling, especially if your mat is brand new. Mine's not really very new, but it's still got some healthy stick to it. So we'll peel those off. Okay. So that is that. And you would repeat that for the additional cuts. So for your leaves, for the other set of petals, you just go ahead and get those all cut out the same way. Okay. So I'm going to put this aside. Excuse me. And we're going to get started with the assembly, but starting with the distress inks first. So let me grab a scrap sheet of paper here. Actually, I'm just going to use the edge of this. No, actually, I'm not, because I want you guys to be able to see it. White on white is like really hard. Give me like 2 seconds. I'm still here. I promise. I haven't left you. Okay. This one's cream, so you can see a contrast more. I haven't left you on right here. So we're going to put these, all of our petals. This is just to show you a little contrast and protect our surface. Give me 1 second, guys. I need to get a sip of water, or I'm going to be choking for the next 20 minutes. Okay. This is my third live in like a little over a week, so I think my voice is just like, what are you doing? All right, so if you want to add color, distress oxides or distress inks, either can work just fine. I like the oxides because they're a little more opaque. They feel a little bit more like creamy and sort of buttery when you're putting them on. They spread a little bit better in my opinion, but I've used both. So if you have one on hand that you prefer to use and you don't want to go out and buy something else, then just go ahead and use that and have fun with it, okay? Again, this is antique linen. The supplies are below in the video description as well, and also provided with those downloads that I mentioned at the beginning. Okay, any questions before I go into this? Anything important? I'm looking real quick too. Oh, the humidity. Yeah. Yeah. So we're in Florida, the humidity, like what I notice is like some of the darker colors, like those seem more affected than the lighter colors. At least that's what I've experienced with like my blacks and browns. But yeah, if like your paper is really old and it sits exposed more like in a cubby, like that's what I do, and that it's not the best thing in the world. It's going to kind of absorb some of that humidity and moisture. And then what's going to happen is your paper is going to tear. So because of that little bit of moisture that's in there, and then if it sort of redries and then it keeps doing that cycle, it'll tear more. So they make like those plastic 12 by 12 storage bins that are clear at craft stores, Amazon, and those work great at preserving paper and keeping some of that like big amount of moisture out. I guess you could say it won't be perfect, but it'll be a massive improvement. Yep, love distress oxides too. Yep. Tim Holtz is my favorite. That's the brand I'm using. Tim Holtz, my absolute favorite. There's great other brands out there too, but that's just what my go-to. They're not super cheap, I will warn you, but they do last a long time. Okay, they do last a long time. This is my ink blending brush. I like it because the bristles are really fine, like super fine. And so it really gets like that perfect blending mode going when you get your hand going. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little color. Now, I will show you here when I started and did tests for my gardenias, I went extra heavy on the ink, and it's a little hard to see with the lighting, but this one's a little bit more yellow looking. You can see more yellow in it. And if that's like, you love that, that's your style, then great. You'll be adding a little bit heavier amount, which I'll cover in a second. If you literally want, I don't know if you're going to see this very well. You can see it right in the center there, just a little bit. If you just want a kiss of color when it's kind of moving to your eye, then you're going to go a lot lighter and smaller in the blending zone. Okay. So you can kind of see more of a contrast there side by side. Okay. So I'm going to get my ink blending brush here. I'm just going to swirl it a couple of times. It can help to even sort of blot it a little bit. If you have a glass board, those are really helpful. I do have one, but I didn't grab it today. I was not super prepared. So I'm going to come in here right to the center. So I'm going to show you how I do this one, because honestly, I feel like that looks more like a true gardenia. Gardenias usually have a little bit of color in the middle, but they're not super yellow unless it's a certain maybe like type. I'm not sure. I'm not a gardenia expert. So swirling just a little right in the middle. And instead of like pressing and trying to get the color to come out like that, you're going to just lightly be brushing the surface, and you're going to let the color build. So by barely applying any pressure at all and going over it several times, you're going to allow the color to build naturally, and it's going to look a lot more authentic when it's done. That was actually a little harsh, so let me demonstrate again. I still get it wrong all the time, and it's okay if you get it wrong. It's okay. It doesn't make a massive difference in the end, but this is just the proper way of like, you know what? I think this is drier than I realized. I should have sprayed this. If your inks or your oxides get dry, a little spray bottle of water, spritz it a few times, and then like put it upside down for like a minute, and then go back in. This one's actually a little dry, which is why I'm having trouble getting it like, yeah. Okay, I should have sprayed it beforehand. So I'm just gonna build that color up a little bit.
And then if they don't have a blending brush,
if they don't have a blending brush, you can get these on Amazon in a big pack. So I would recommend potentially investing in them, but you can use like ink stampers, ink daubers. I do have some drawer behind me here. If you happen to have something like this, in fact, if you're wanting a very small amount of color here, I actually went a little heavy on this first examples. But if you're wanting a very small amount of color, you may want to consider these little ink daubers, Amazon.
Roxanne recommends using makeup sponges.
Oh, makeup sponges is a great option. Yep. If you have spare ones of those lying around, you might buy them in multi-packs or something, and you just have a bunch of them. So you can also like do this and just sort of dab at the center, let the color build a little. Either can work, okay? The darker you go with it, the more it's really going to stand out. Whereas if you go a little bit lighter, this one's a little bit lighter, it's going to be a little more subtle, okay? Likewise, the further you come out from the center, the more you're really going to see it, okay? So I like it to be on the lighter side. So I'm kind of going to play it a little more safe, especially for these last petals here. Just a little tiny bit. Yeah. This is not typically how distress oxides behave. They actually come on a lot smoother than this, but I forgot to moisten mine before the live. So we're just going to go with it. That one turned out better. So that's something like what I would do there. Okay. Now, if you happen to have distress oxides in greens that complement your green as well, and you want to go in and like do a little shading on that, you can. For this one, I don't really mess with it. I prefer to focus just on the flower and leave the leaves kind of natural as they are with paper, but that's your call. You can absolutely do that if you want to play around with that. Okay. Put this out of our way. What questions do we have? Anything at all, let me know. Let me know.
Just confirming you got the daubers, the whole kit from Amazon?
Yep, whole kit's on Amazon. Just type in ink daubers, like for crafting, ink daubers crafting. It's DAUBERS, I think. Don't hold me to that. I'm not like, I switch letters in my brain all the time. And then the ink blending brushes. Those also come in a set. They come in a rather large set. They come here, I'll show you. They come in like a multi-set like this. So they come in different colors, and if you're using green, you can pair it with the green. If you're using blue, purple, you can sort of keep them paired by the color, which I like. Okay. Cool. So we're gonna grab our wood dowel. You can also use a pen, a pencil. This is a 1/4 inch wood dowel, but feel free to use a 1/2 inch wood dowel. I have done that as well. Something thereabout, doesn't have to be perfect. It will get the job done, okay? So let's start with the 2 3-point petals, okay? The 2 3-point petals. And for these are our bottommost petals, okay? So you want the petals to kind of flow different directions. Some angles up, some angle down. Sometimes one petal point will angle up on one side and down on the other side. So there is no right or wrong to this. The key is just variation. Okay, so just have fun with it and vary it. So I would take my wood dowel, I'd place it here kind of to one side of the petal, okay? And I would just gently curl like that. And then this one's curled up, but I'm gonna flip it the other way, and I'm gonna curl this down so that it creates this look to it, okay? Just like that. And you can do that with all of these, for these two here, if you want. But I also like to kind of vary it where I might do one that's kind of up. I might do the other one that's down. So it ends up, each one's kind of unique. So up and down, just up, just down. Questions about that?
Nope, not yet.
Yay. Okay.
Lots of comments about beautiful flowers.
Yes. you guys want more beautiful flowers, I have freebies in the craft vault as well. And then if you're a flower lover and enthusiast like I am, I actually have an entire membership that you can also opt for commercial license if you want to sell them. So go check those out if you're interested. We have giant paper flowers, roses, tons of stuff. And we're dropping a bunch of new ones early next year, like big collections. So it'll be super fun. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. I'm going to kind of just vary it. This time I might make it different than the other one, which is cool to do. Kind of bending the petals up just a little bit to give them a little life, so it looks like that, okay? Get you guys to move over a little, I feel like it's that angle. There we go, okay. Now, moving on to these, okay? We got the 5-point petals, 2 slightly larger, 2 slightly smaller. Let's start with the larger ones. For these, I am going to curl them all up towards me, like that, okay? So I'm not doing the variation like I was a minute ago. I'm curling them all the same direction. And you're gonna repeat that for all of these the same way. It's all gonna look like this one right here, okay? All 4 of these will look like this one. Now I also wanna say, as I mentioned earlier, you can add or take away petals. So for like this flower here, I was playing around with the number of layers you would use, and we can see that there's actually 3 layers of the 3-point petals in this one, okay? So I've done it with just 2, I've done it with 3. Sometimes after I start building the flower, I'm like, ooh, it would look better if I added a 3rd one. And sometimes you can't know that until you're building the flower. So you have to sort of creatively assess it in the moment. This is the minimum, but as we play around with it, I may add another one, and then you can do the same thing, okay? So let me finish curling these really quick. And once you kind of get the feel for it, you can go a lot faster, but do not compare yourself to me. I have been doing this for, let's see, my son is 11. So I did it before he was born, so I guess 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. So this takes time, and I still mess up all of the time. Like the flowers you guys see when something is released or I'm teaching you on camera is not what I start with. I have to do like prototypes, and then I have to change, you know, how something looks. I always show the first prototype to my husband. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, it's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, well, I feel like these things could be better. And he's like, maybe, but I think it looks really good as it is. Then I go and make the change, and he's like, oh yeah, that's so much better. I'm like, why didn't you agree with me the first time?
I didn't know you could do it.
But you know my process by now. I mean, seriously, you haven't just met me. Any questions? Questions. I'm actually going to do another one of these real quick just to show you, because I may end up adding that. A little bit of color. Okay. So this is the minimum. I'm going to prep this one because I may want it. Not sure, but it'll be there waiting for me. All right. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start working with those 3-point petals. Let me pause here real quick. So you moisten the ink pad, D, you moisten the ink pad. So I'm sorry, I'm going off track. Ooh, I found it. I found my bottle, I found it. Okay, so this is a little, like, I don't even know where I got this, probably just a craft store. It's just a little spray bottle of water, okay? So since I need to do this anyways, let me move this out of the way so I'm not spraying my flowers directly. Literally, just hold it maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches away. It's like a mist. And so I might mist it a few times, like that. And then put the lid back on. And I'll put it down for a couple minutes, and then I would use it. And now I have a little bit of spray on my desk. Do you have It's not a big, I mean, it's literally barely anything, but it's a little more overspray than I thought. But don't worry, the flowers are dry. He's grabbing me a little, actually, it's probably gonna be dry by the time you get back. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Look at my cute puppy towel, isn't it so cute? It has a Frenchie on here, so we had to get it. Okay. All right. Okay, so back to our assembly here. Starting with the 3-point, I have my hot glue gun ready to go. Okay, it doesn't matter what you start with. All right. So if you're like, which one of these variations of petal curling I start, it doesn't matter. Just pick one. Okay. There's not a wrong answer. So I'm going to add a little glue to the center. Okay. And I'm going to place a petal on top of it. And notice that as I place, we are alternating the petal points. I'm not directly stacking them. These petal points are falling in between the layer that's sitting on top of it. Okay. Just like that. There we go. Okay. Then we could add this one. We could also skip this one. I'm gonna skip this one for now because I'm gonna show you another trick you can do at the end. This is all, like, guys, I'm not trying to confuse you when I give you these tricks. I'm trying to give you options, like options of different things you can play with and do. It's not meant to confuse you, it's meant to give you choices. Okay, so you could add this one here if you wanted to, but I'm gonna show you another way I make the flower a little more full at the end by saving this. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the 5-point petals, the two slightly larger. We'll save the two smaller over there. And I'm going to gather these. And this is what this isn't a technique term. This is just literally what I've called it all these years of flower making. Tuck and twist them. So you're going to kind of pull them up towards you. And you're going to tuck one inside the other, inside the other, inside the other. So they're all going around in a circle like that. And then you start to twist after you've tucked, kind of pinching at the bottom slightly, very slightly, as you're twisting. And then it creates this nice little spiral bud look that you're seeing here. Okay. And so once I've done that, I open it back out just a little bit like that, but you can see how much more height that's given it. So that's exactly how I do that. Questions?
Nope, other than your instruction is great.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that you think the instruction is great. All right, so I'm going to add this one in now. Okay, adding a little glue. You can add it there too. I go back and forth. I don't know why. It's probably just my brain like fritzing like, let's do this. No, let's do this. No, let's do this. So when I add this one in, obviously we're going from 3-point petals to 5-point petals. So there's not going to be an exact every other one. But just aim for, like, you can see these ones here, 3 of the 5 are kind of falling roughly in between the other ones. And it creates that nice blooming effect, right? Okay. We're going to do the same thing here. Kind of tuck them all. Give them some height. Let it open out a little bit.
And 65-pound cardstock, correct?
Yep, 65-pound, medium weight cardstock. I do not ever recommend going above 80-pound, and I 99.9% of the time always work with 65-pound, also known as 176 grams per square inch. Per square meter. What is it? Is it? Yeah. It's one of those. It's just GSM on the yeah.
Grams per square meter.
Yeah. It says GSM, and I always feel like it's some sort of like additive in food. Like GMO or something like that. Yeah, and that's how my brain works. So yeah, it just sounds kind of like something that would be on a food label, like this is GSM free or something like that. All right, so I'm doing the same thing, kind of aiming to alternate those petal points. You can see I didn't get it perfect. I got it off just a little bit. That's okay. It's really okay. Nature does not bloom in perfection, and you don't have to either. Okay? You do not have to make it perfect. And sometimes I've actually found the gardenias that I make that are prettier are like the more messier ones that I felt like were really bad. Like this one, I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like it's turning out as good as some of my other practice ones, but it's okay. Like, it's okay. I'm gonna keep going.
Someone's asking why a glue gun rather than glue like Barely Art.
Okay, so I love Barely Art. You could absolutely do this with Barely Art. The reason I use hot glue is because it grabs instantly. Like literally the second you put it on, it grabs and it's dried within like 10 seconds. So with Barely Art, even though it does grab very quickly, there is a little more dry time. There's a little bit more shifting, which can kind of mess up the flow of the flower if you're not wanting to like wait for maybe a good 60 seconds, 90 seconds in between each layer. So, you know, like absolutely you can do that, but I just use glue guns forever for my paper flowers in general, because I find that it's the fastest option and it's plenty sturdy as well, but so is Barely Art. So if you have one on hand over the other, like go ahead and use it. So I'm adding in this 5-point petal. It's a smaller one. Okay. And I probably could have like tightened it a bit more before I put it in there, because I'm wondering if now it's going to be like, I want more petals. You'll see every flower comes together differently. And grabbing the last one here, I'm really going to tuck and twist it to kind of get that small bud. And that's a lot of space in there. So I don't know, guys, I may end up adding more. Don't get confused when you look in the instructions, okay? I may go back and update it later. Like what I write in the instructions for the petal count is your minimum. Again, you may want to use more, and I'll go back and add an extra little note about that if that helps people, but just take note of what I'm saying here in the video as well. Because honestly, if I take this and I like put it in here, like that could work. It could work, but I feel like there's still plenty of space to almost add another one of these. And I have made ones before where it's like too tight, can't add any more. But this one's saying, it's not too tight. I want more petals. So I am going to add another one. Okay. Questions, comments, feedback, thoughts?
You're rocking.
Amazing insight into life. The secret to the universe. Anybody got it? Share it with me. All right. So I am going to add another one in. This one, I'm going to tuck it a lot, and then I'm going to kind of just barely let it open like that. Okay. It's not open that much. And I'm going to put it in. Okay. And that one, you're not really focusing much on petal alteration because, well, you can't really do it at that point. But just make sure it's kind of like straight up and that kind of stuff. And then we'll put this one in here because I feel like now it's got all that space filled, which looks better to my eye. You may like it if it like you may like it more open, and if that's you, then just don't add the extra. Okay, I'm gonna stick that one in there. Hold it for just a second so that glue can catch, just like that. Okay, so here's where we are with the gardenia. Very pretty. Okay, so this totally looks like, you know, a white gardenia flower. But you might also notice, like with this one here, which I did make slightly larger, so feel free to play with the scale in Design Space. Adding another one of these petals down here can sometimes really like complete the look of the flower. But what I like to do is, if you look at like flowers in nature, sometimes like the petals at the bottom that have been blooming the longest, they kind of fold out a little bit from the bottom of the flower. So this is pretty neutral right now. I mean, it's curled, but like it's not really bending up. It's not really bending down. So I actually like to sort of bend it down away from me just a little bit. And then I'll add it on like this. And the reason I add this last, if you opt to do that, is because when you're building the center of the flower, you're pushing down a little on the flower and you don't want to lose that height you're giving it. So saving it to the end allows you to do that after the fact. Okay, so I sort of flip the flower over and it's bent down and away from me. String. I aim to alternate the petal points just like we did when we started. I might even make the petals open and relax a little bit more. Okay, and you can see that kind of adds a more natural look to the flower. Okay, what do we think? What questions do we have so far? What questions, comments?
None? Okay.
I'm trying to look too. Oh, yes, thanks, Sonny. Yes, we just hit 100,000 subscribers. Yay, so excited. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, thumbs up buttons, subscriptions, that all helps support our family business. Thank you so much for your support and just being here today. So fun. Okay, so let's move on to stemming and leaves. And this is probably nice and moist now. I'll move that out of the way. All right, stemming. So 18 gauge floral wire. Okay, if you're looking on Amazon, 18 gauge floral wire is all you need to be looking for. Okay, the smaller the number with floral wire, the thicker and more stiff the wire is. The bigger the number, 22 gauge, 24 gauge, 26 gauge, the skinnier and more flexible the wire is going to be. So 18 gauge is good because it offers a nice sturdy stem, but still has enough flexibility to shape and mold into like a bouquet or for arrangements or however you might want to use them, okay? Thank you, Susan. Totally enjoying how relaxing this is to listen to and watch. Thank you. That makes me feel so happy to hear that. That is what it's all about, crafting for joy and for fun and relaxation and mindfulness. That's what it's about. So we're going to shape our stem first. I'm going to use this one here. And they come, you will find them, guys. You'll find them with like paper cover on the wire. You'll find them bare wire. You'll also find them with like almost a fabric like feeling over them. I've used them all. My favorite is like the paper covered ones, but I will say they are the hardest to find and sometimes the most expensive. If you check out 12 by 12 cardstock shop, they actually sell some floral wires. I don't know what their current stock level is, so don't hold me to like how much they have in stock, but they do sell that on there and they're really great. So you can check that out, but Amazon also has large packs too. So I'm gonna grab this one. I'm gonna grab my needle nose pliers. Now, there are different ways to stem flowers. This is the way I invented 12 years ago. And I was like, how do I stem a flower if I'm not like threading the petals up the stem? So what you do is, I'd say about an inch, maybe a little more, just eyeball it, about an inch or so down from the top. You're gonna bend the tip at a 90-degree angle, okay? So bend at a 90-degree angle. It's gonna look like that. Okay. And then we're going to shape it into a small circle. So I'm going to literally pull this around, and it feels a little awkward at first. It's okay. When you do it a few times, you will get better at it. And when the wire's stiffer too, it like feels like a bigger deal. And honestly, sometimes using my hands feels more easy at certain points. So sometimes I'll actually use my fingers for a minute. I don't know if you guys can hear that. We have like frogs sitting outside our house and they're like croaking up a storm. Okay, so let me pull that up so you guys can see it. That is like a little circle at a 90-degree angle, okay? That's how I stem my flowers. We're gonna glue the flower on and then we'll reinforce it with our green base, okay? So before I go any further with this, I want to do one thing to prep the green base. Any questions?
Do you offer a petunia?
A petunia? That's a great request. I do not currently have a petunia, and I'm always looking to expand the flowers that I offer. So I'm going to have Mike, can you please write down petunia request? And then that way I can add it to a future flower collection. So thank you for requesting that. If you guys have other flower requests, feel free to drop them. And if I don't have them already, we like to keep like a running list of things that are being requested by our community. And I love taking like your ideas and actually bringing them to life. So please feel free to request things as well. So we have our base here. And I have, oh, there, scissors. Who plays the scissor, like hunt for the scissors? It's in my hand. It's in my back pocket. It's on the floor. It's right in front of me, staring at me. And, and you're like, where is it? I'm losing my mind. All right. So these are just a pair of sharp detailed scissors. Please be careful when you're doing this. So what I do is I poke a little hole here for the stem to thread the stem through. Now I know some of you are thinking, well, why, if we're using a cutting machine, why isn't there a little hole right there just already pre-cut? So the reason for that is because one, sometimes depending on how you like to adjust the scale of your flowers, it's so tiny the machine almost can't cut it well and it just doesn't look very good in the end. Second is because when we punch a very tiny hole with the tip of our scissors, we're creating the like minimum amount of space to get the wire through, and we're punching through, we're not actually cutting out. And as a result, it's a lot more flush and seamless looking, okay? If you have some sort of like soft mat or something you can stick underneath this, do that because it helps sort of like allowing you to puncture through a little bit easier. I have a mat, puncture resistant. It's my paper balloon shaping mat and tool set, which I decided not to feature today because I wanted to keep it super simple with the wood dowel. But this is a puncture resistant mat that I do have on hand. But if you don't, just carefully, like don't stab your finger, but just carefully like poke it lightly right in the middle, okay? So I'm gonna, little poke, that's it. All you need. Actually, I don't think it went all the way through. It looked like I went all the way through. I didn't. There we go. Now I'm all the way through. Okay. And now we're going to thread the wire through. And depending on how thick your wire is or what kind of wrapping it has on it, mine's kind of fraying, so it might get caught. If that happens, you may need to widen the hole just a tiny bit to help it get on without a problem, but that one worked just fine. Okay. Now, actually, before I did this, I really should have prefaced if you want to curl these, so I sort of skipped a step there. If you want to add some life to these, you can just curl the tips down at a bit of an angle. Okay. Kind of like that if you want. Different directions. I don't have a fancy technique. You can see that's literally how simple I make it. But it's better than them being like straight flat, right? Okay. Yay. Okay, have you tried a needle to do the puncture? I have not, but I would love to know how that works for you. So yeah, if you have like that on hand and want to give that a try, I would make sure it's like a thicker needle, obviously, but yeah, totally. I think you could do that. And then yeah, like you could try a push pin. If you have like a push pin, like cushion that you want to use to sort of push it through. That way, you know, you're being safe with your hands and everything. That's a great idea also. So thank you guys for sharing that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna thread this back through now that I've added a little life to it. Okay. And you can see I didn't get my hole like perfect there, and that's okay. That's okay. And I'm just going to push it up against that little half circle. So I'm trying to give you guys a good view there. So you see how I've pushed it right up against that base we created? Well, we're gonna put hot glue right here and push it against our gardenia flower, okay? So I will say the first time you do this, it probably is gonna feel a little awkward. If you've never done it before, it will get easier, okay? Be patient with yourself because you're kind of like holding the base and the stem together. Like put your thumb underneath to support it and then grab your hot glue gun, add it over the wire and then kind of around the rest of the leaf area a little bit, just a little. And then place gardenia on top. And this is the only time where I'm extra careful with holding the hot glue because there's a lot going on here as far as like the layers we're connecting together, and you want to make sure that hot glue is like not still warm and tacky, but fully dried before you let go and you try and do anything else. So I'm not smashing my flower, but I am being firm and like just holding it for a minute. You can put it upside down. My wire is currently a little bent, and kind of hold it like that if that feels better to you. Okay, questions, comments, thoughts?
Lots of comments, flowers.
Oh, good.
We got larkspur.
Larkspur, okay, that sounds fun.
Lilacs.
I've been wanting to do a lilac forever. I literally started designing the template like twice, and then for whatever reason, I got busy with other projects and I never got around to it. But that one's like, that's one of my big priorities because I love them. They're so pretty.
Yeah, did you do a dogwood?
Did I do a dogwood? I don't know. No, I don't think I've done a dogwood yet. We'll put them all on our list though. I'm feeling like a big spring paper flower thing for next year. And we'll take all these suggestions and we'll do a fun challenge around it or something like that. All right, so that is good and dry now. I'm getting my glue strings off. Okay, so you can trim down your wire. Like this wire is quite long and kind of in my way. So I'm gonna trim that down. Okay, and then finish shaping this out. So kind of like move the head of the flower a little gently. If the leaves are sticking too far out, kind of bend them down a little bit more, like they've curled with the bloom of the flower. Okay. There you go, whatever feels right. And then if you want to add more glue to tack it up higher, you can. I'm just going to leave mine kind of natural like that. And there is our white gardenia. And the bottom, just like that. Pretty cool, right? What you guys think? Tell me, what do you think? All right, I like it. It turned out good. You can see that, like, if we look at my other ones, I have some in different sizes. Like, I just literally scaled up, like, selected all the templates in Design Space and scaled it up by, like, a little bit, and you can make them a little bit bigger. But they all kind of look unique. Like, none of them look exactly like the other one. And if you look at, like, a bunch of gardenias clustered together, that's how they always look in nature. So I think that makes it look more real. Pause for a drink real quick and we'll continue. Okay. So if you want to add more leaves, you can. There's nothing special here. Okay, this is completely preferential, and I tend to, especially how you're going to use or gift them. If I'm putting these into like the paper cone example, I probably wouldn't put a lot of leaves on here. If I did, I probably would put them up more towards the top, not down here. But all you literally do is just use that wood dowel and kind of just curl it. If it's more comfortable for your hand, don't judge me, it needs cleaned so badly, see? Okay, so if you have a Cricut scraper tool like this, you can also do that to curl. There are multiple ways to do this with paper. Some people find one more friendly than the other. Some people just prefer the way it feels different or works better for their hands. So either can work. So if you do want to add these on, what I would recommend is just a dot of glue, like super light dot of glue. If you're worried about extra hot glue, like sticking out or being chunky or stringy, then maybe in this instance you would consider using the Barely Art because it dries clear and very thin. So that is a side note there, but I have typically just used a very tiny dot of hot glue. Is that rain or is that construction people out there again? I think that's construction. It doesn't sound like rain.
Oh yeah, he's brushing the.
Okay. If you guys joined me in my last lives, you got to hear all of our construction in full glory. So I literally just pushed that against the stem there and glued it on, and you can kind of like add a little bit more greenery if you wish, like that. Okay. All right. Let me pause real quick. Hey. There's a bush outside my bedroom window when I was growing up. Can't wait to make them. Oh, thank you, Melanie. All right, thank you guys so much. All right, so let's move on to, oh, yeah. Is it like a street cleaner? Yeah, It's a street cleaner or construction crew street cleaner. It's making like a big bush sound outside. It's going by. It'll leave in a minute. Okay, so let's move on to like the cone part. So 2 things about the cone. One, I'm gonna actually bring you back up here for a minute. This is gonna be a lot easier. Turn this way. There we go. Okay. So for the cone part, you don't have to do this. Obviously, you could just stick them in a vase or get some like foam from the craft store and sort of arrange them on the foam and then cover the foam with extra leaves or greenery or silk greenery or whatever and sort of build an arrangement. You don't have to do this, but this is fun to like bring someone as like a little gift, right? And we're all here today because of the Gift Fest. By the way, are you guys liking the Gift Fest? Tell me what some of your favorite projects have been. I'm really curious to know. I hope you've been enjoying it. It's been lots of fun. It's been a big, heavy week for us. It always is, but it's so much fun to get to see you all create things and see your excitement, and we feed off of that. So we absolutely love when you share your projects. So I do not have any more of this brown paper because we were wrapping up some prizes and we used the brown paper for like shipment. It's just a brown butcher paper. I do have wrapping paper though, which you can use as well. So if you're like me, you're like, I don't have that. Can I use something else? If you have any wrapping paper, that can also work. Now, I will say that the wrapping paper I'm going to use here is quite colorful, of course. I like this look better with the brown paper. I feel like it's just, I don't know, more simple, more natural, whatever. But since I don't have it, I'll just show you how I do it with this, okay? All right, so I am not an expert in rolling cones. I've literally done it like twice, seriously. So don't expect me to even get this right when I show you. And if you guys have cone wrapping tips, go ahead and share them if you have experience with this.
Is this project compatible with the Joy?
Yeah, yes, it is compatible with the Joy. So the Joy, like even the smallest one, it cuts medium cardstock just fine. The only thing you're gonna have to like adjust for you is because the Joy is only cuts like a little under 4.5 inches wide with a mat. You won't be able to cut out as many petals at once. So it's going to separate it out into, you know, you might only get 2 or 3 petals cut out at a time, have to take the paper off, reload the mat, etc. But you'll still be able to cut them. It'll just be a longer process of like loading and unloading more mats because of the size of the machine. But yeah, you can absolutely do that. All the machines will work. Okay, so I have cut. Actually, any other things I need to address? Okay. Oh, nothing sticking out. Let me
Just
check.
the joy.
Oh, yes, all my flowers in the background. So that's the primrose wreath. Who remembers that from the Craft Fest 2 years ago? I think I have lost count with our events, guys. I have lost count. We have the dahlia, we have geraniums, we have I don't think you can see them all the way, but there's orchids up there, roses over there. Yeah, I got like a bunch more in the closet over there as well. I don't have the heart to like throw all my projects away. Like my prototypes, I'll throw them away because I'm like, I don't like those. It didn't turn out right. But then like when I complete something, I'm like, I feel like I have to keep it for at least 2 years before I can throw it away or find someone to get. I can always find someone to give it to. Sometimes I've already given people like so much stuff. It's like another one. So I guess that's just what happens when you do this for a living. I don't know. So I've cut a sheet of wrapping paper down here. Okay. This is literally the length of the roll. And let's see. I don't know exactly how big I did it. I probably did it. This is 11 inches. It's probably about 15 inches in like width as far as how far did I cut in on here. But it doesn't have to be precise. Okay, so I'd say between 14 and 16 inches. Okay, and because this is such a long rectangle, I'm going to fold this. I'm going to bring you guys down here again so you can see what I'm doing on the surface. Okay. There we go. Okay, so long rectangle. I'm going to fold it in half, so it's going to become more of a square than a rectangle. You can see my edges are uneven, and that's okay. Like I said, literally like the second or third time I have done this, guys. So some of you are probably like, yep, you could do it this way. It would be so much easier. Please share your tips and ideas. I would love it. Others would love to know too. I'm literally so simple. I'm like, just have fun and do it. So this is still a little rectangular over here. I may actually trim this down a bit, especially since it's so uneven. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to just trim off. If you have a measuring tape, getting it closer to a square is probably going to be a little bit better. So this is like a little over 15 inches. And it's actually pretty square already. It's just this gap over here. So I'm not going to cut too much off. I'm only going to cut a little bit. Questions?
Comments on your collection of Cricut Cuties?
Yep. I've been collecting those for a few years, and they're so cute to leave up on my board. And like every time I'm like, I want a fresh backdrop. I want to sort of change it up, and then I never have the heart to take them down. Like I feel like that's their home. I never have the heart to take them down. All right. So what I'm going to do now is basically I just pick a corner. Okay. I don't think there's a right or wrong corner to pick here. I haven't experienced that, but pick a corner. Okay. I'm going to pick this one. And you're going to focus on like the tip area down here. Okay. And you're literally going to roll it, focusing on getting that tip sort of rolled. And you're just going to start rolling it like this. So this needs to be more narrow down here, and this will kind of be more open up here. Okay. So I'm just going to like roll. Keep rolling. Okay. Literally like that. I could probably, like, this is not the right paper, guys. So this white you're seeing, ideally, we'd want to trim this off. The brown paper that I was supposed to have is brown on both sides, so it works fine. It kind of looks cute with like a little white lip, I guess you could say, that works. But for example, say, again, we're just going to go with it here because I'm not going to overcomplicate the process. So at this point, you have a couple options. A little tape always helps. Double-sided tape in there can help. We could trim this down if we want, but I'm not going to get caught up with that. You can also trim this down up at the top here too. So I'm going to do that before I tape it. I'm going to sort of trim this off. If you like it extra long like this, keep it extra long. That's fine. But by trimming it down, I'm literally just probably going to do like that. Or you could fold it in and see how that looks as well, which might be the better option to try. I've done it both ways. Might be the better option to try the folding in first to see how that feels. And then if you don't like it, you can just cut it off and then no harm done, right? But if you cut it off, you can't put it back, right? So let's try that first. I'm going to put some double-sided tape in here before I fold. And yeah, it's going to be kind of a white edge to it there because I'm not going to get too concerned about it. Again, the brown paper would be seamless. It'd match on both sides. But I ran out. That's okay. Okay, we're just gonna hold that there for a minute. We'll clean it up in a minute. And then if you want, you can start folding this down. I don't know how this is gonna go, guys. Seriously, you're watching this in the moment of like, this might turn out absolutely terrible. It is highly possible. So I'm just crinkling the edge and folding it down within itself. This also kind of adds stability to the cone in my experience. And by experience, I mean the 2 cones I've made. It adds a little bit more stability because it's like folding within itself. Okay. And I'm creasing it. Okay. Now, the perfectionist in me is like, cut this off. You can also get just regular clear tape. Again, I'm just going with it, even though it's literally driving me crazy right now. Don't think about it.
Let it go.
All right, it's kind of cute from this side too. Like it looks like it's got this little like curl right here. Okay, so this cone is longer than my other one. I definitely could have trimmed it down and then probably still folded it in, but that's okay. And then we're just gonna stick some flowers in it. That's literally all I do. So because I don't have all my stem flowers over here, I'll just show you here. Like literally you can see all I did was stick flowers. And you see how I folded that one in too. I may have just cut this one smaller also because it's just a little taller. So I may have just cut it smaller. Maybe go like 14 inches instead of closer to 16 or maybe 13. And you can just start sticking these in however you want. I don't really secure them with anything, but if it makes you feel better, like so they're not loose and like in there by themselves, you can sort of cluster this together outside of the cone first. And then you could wrap it in some floral tape, even just a little scotch tape, another piece of wire to like kind of make it all together. And that way if something slips out, then like you just put it back in as one piece and you're not trying to collect like things. I'm trying to think if there's creative ways you could like secure it more inside of the cone. But I don't really know how to do that without either destroying the cone or making it hard to even take them out if people want to arrange them somewhere else. Sort of meant to be like a gift package that you give, they would open and they would use them, put them in the vase or something. So you could cluster them together like this and like put some tape around it or something to sort of secure it as one piece, and then slide it in. Okay, and this cone, guys, is so long. I really need to trim it. Probably undo it and trim it. I can't even like show you down here. I have to show you up here. So there we go. There is our pretty gardenia cone. Okay, and I definitely love the brown paper so much better. So I'm gonna put them back in there because it's driving me crazy. But here's my brown cone. And then we'll put it in like that. And yeah, I think wrapping it with a little tape or some floral wire, just cluster them all together is good. You can sort of play around with it a little bit, but I just set them in there and it looks natural and fun. And yeah, I love that. I think it makes a really cute gift, especially like a housewarming gift, maybe for a baby shower or something like that, or a bridal shower would be really fun. All right, so what questions do you guys have for me as we wrap up? Yep, the colored wrapping is great too. It's like the white is driving me so crazy. I want to like make it, like the edge is so perfect. That's my type A perfectionism, guys. Okay, yeah, oh yeah, you could definitely do ribbon or like some baker's twine if you wanted to tie around here, and you could even just like tack it a little bit underneath and hold it if you didn't want to slide off easy. That would be really fun as well. I haven't tried that, but yeah, if you guys make these today, please send us an email with your photos. Please post in our Facebook groups. We want to see your projects. Remember this download, if you're a free ticket holder for the Gift Fest, the downloads are in the video description for you and will be available for the next 24 hours. Whenever I log off here in just a few minutes, that 24 hours starts. So you're technically getting a little extra bonus time. And then if you're a VIP pass holder, we will download this video and the templates. We will put it in your pass so you have that forever access to it. As a reminder, if you have not purchased a VIP pass yet and you would like to, the week of event pricing is disappearing Friday at midnight. Okay, so try to save the money and get it while it's still 40% off. And then this stuff will be added in as a forever access on demand for you as well. So I'm gonna take one last look in the comments here, guys. See if we have any other questions. Yep, thank you. Ooh, sunflowers in a cone. That sounds like a great idea. I'll have to think about doing that. I have a bunch of sunflower designs already for our members. There is a crepe paper flower one, a sunflower. There is a giant paper sunflower. And then there is a cardstock version. It's like smaller cardstock version sunflower. But those will look really pretty, I agree, in like a cone like this as well. Be so pretty. And even if you like this cone look, like get like a clear base, like my scissors are sitting in here, and you can sort of just display it sitting like that. I mean, I think that's fun. It's different. It's fun. Like little arrangements for events and things like that. It's really fun.
Peggy had a good idea of using a small foam cone to put in the bottom.
Yes, that's a very good idea. So like a foam cone, and you could even use that foam cone to like help shape your paper cone. That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I'll have to grab, I think I have one in the attic. I get so much foam in this house. Anybody else have a collection of foam for like arranging? Is it just me? I have like blocks and circles and cones, and my husband's like, yeah, I have to organize it. I'm always prepared for something with foam. But I love that idea. I have some up in the attic, so I may just try that later just to see how like I can improve it. But I got to get more brown paper first because that's what I want to use. You could totally use like other solid color papers too. I think that would be fun. You could even put a message on this, like if you wanted to write on it before you wrapped it, or put some sort of label or sticker on it or something like that that's personalized. That would make it that much more cute and fun. All right, last one. Can you use a small foam cone at the bottom for stability? Yep. Okay, sorry. I was rereading the comment that he just told me. I was making sure I wasn't missing anybody. Yes, thank you guys. Vinyl name, that would be fabulous. Yep. Awesome, guys. Okay, so enjoy this replay. Thank you for joining me live. Did you guys like this? Did you like me adding in this like live bonus during our events? Because obviously we do these events a couple times a year. Our next big one is in the end of February, which is the Cricut Craft Fest. It comes around every year. Generally, I do a bunch of pre-recorded because it's easier with tech as we experience today. But I can still throw one in like this if you guys like it. So it's always great connecting with you. And I'm challenging myself to do more lives like this with you guys. And I see lots of familiar faces. So I'm really excited to see you guys showing up again and again. It's awesome. Okay. So enjoy. Oh, yes, more lives. Yay, okay. Message received. Got it. I'm going to be out of town next week, but I will come up with a project that we'll do together mid-October, and we'll have fun again live together. All right, guys, if you have other questions, you're watching the replay, feel free to leave comments below the video, and I'll come back in and I'll see, like, if there's anything I missed. If you have thoughts, ideas, questions, suggestions, please leave them. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Wednesday. All right, guys. Bye.